Let's get your framing good. There you go. So over here, this is where your chat's going to be on the side.
Okay.
And so you're live now.
All right. I'm live. Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is Accountable the After Show, the very first one. So, this is what's happening with this podcast, this new podcast. I've been getting so many emails about the new series that I'm doing called Accountable, Holding Government Accountable. And so, there is just so much information. I just cannot talk about it all in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes on air. So, hey, my team and I, we decided that we need to take this online. We're going to put this on YouTube. So, thank you for joining me for this one. Today's accountable, and as we get really closer to the election, a lot of people are really starting to pay attention about. Beaumont city government, candidates who are running. Another big issue that people are really paying attention now is the city council, and they have this bond advisory committee that are taking a look at some proposals to put on a ballot for a bond election in November. And let me tell you, they're using what's called the community investment plan. It's like this thick, like a little book of everything in there that they feel like the city of Beaumont wants to do over the course of 5 years. And in the bond packet that they will be presenting to the advisory board are lists of things that are how can I break this down? I had to learn all this kind of stuff about what different type of bonds are. But these are what are called GO bonds. These are general obligation bonds, and those type of bonds have to have voter approval. So I was like, okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that they want you to spend your tax dollars on potentially. Today I talked about the Henry Humberg golf course. And when I first looked at the big ticket price on that, anywhere between $15 and $19 million, I was, whoa, that is a big price tag. I'm wondering, what do voters think about this? So I actually had the opportunity to talk to some voters about what they think about it. And I'm going to tell you that majority of the people that I talked to, they thought the price tag was a little bit too much, but they were all for this golf course being improved. Henry Humberg, it was like a history lesson in that. I'm still getting people to send me emails and text messages about the Henry Humberg. There's a lot of history there. One of the golfers that I talked to out there, Mr. John Neal Jr., he gave me a little bit of history lesson. He says, well, Erika, this golf course has a lot of history, and we should definitely do all we can to restore it to its glory days, to improve it, to bring more people to Beaumont, to boost the economy in Beaumont. But he was saying that at one point in time, that golf course was used during World War One. And World War II, to use sort of like camps, for German prisoners and stuff like that. So there's a big history lesson to it. But we're going to fast forward to the current day, and some of the main problems with the golf course out there are drainage issues. And the city thinks that if they can repair that, do some upgrades, that this could be what Councilman Durio says, a destination golf course. But there are people, on the other hand, that I talk to, they're like, absolutely not. We should not spend that much money making those type of improvements at the golf course when there's so many other problems that are facing the city. A lot of people say that they need to really make infrastructure projects a top priority over things that are recreational. And I was like, I get it. Okay, so everyone has an opinion on this. And so after getting a little bit more education about how all this works, how the budgets work, I found out that infrastructure projects, that's a whole nother different fund. The city has budgeted for that. So focusing on what you may see on the ballot are those things that are big ticket items that voters have to approve because they're not a part of the city's general fund. So I was also wanting to know what else is on there. So I got a little spreadsheet and I was like, okay, so what else could possibly be on the ballot this November? And so we have a couple of community parks, one for Ward 1 and one for the South End. That's going to come to the grand total of over $7 million for the both of those parks. Okay, people say, okay, we need more parks in the communities. We need families to have a place to go, picnic, and all that. The parks were not as controversial as the golf course. Also, there is another thing on here, and it's kind of popular these days. You have to decide if it's worth it or not, if it is put on the ballot, but they're wanting to do a water park. Of course, location to be determined, but this water park is more than $8 million as it stands. So these are just a few things that will also possibly be on the ballot this November for the bond election in Beaumont. Other things include like a pickleball court, expanding one of the baseball fields out at the Municipal Athletic Complex. But the community investment plan is posted on the city's website. If you go to kfdm.com, we've also included that on a link in the story that we asked about polling, were you for or against improvements at the Henry Humbert Golf Course? And so I urge each and every one of you to be an informed voter, to take a look at all of this and to see if this is something that you want to have a tax burden for the next 20 to 25 years on this. So go ahead right now. Why don't you just send me some questions here? I have some extra time. This is the Accountable, the after show. And so I'm really looking forward to having a great conversation with you out there. I have a question here. Um, what's the deal with the water park? I knew that would get people wanting to know more about that. This water park has been talked about for several years and just different conversations out there. You know, when you go to a chamber meeting or you go to a BBB luncheon or whatever, there's been talk about Beaumont needing a water park. As I recall the conversation, where would they put this water park? And one of the ideas was to construct a water park out near Ford Park. What would that mean? Who owns the property out there? Does the county own it? What is private ownership out there? But the idea was because those baseball fields out there generate so much revenue when there are big tournaments out there. And we're not talking about college tournaments. We are talking about youth competitive baseball tournaments. They're such a big draw to the city. People between Houston and Louisiana come out to Fort Park for that. And so the idea was, well, you have the baseball fields. What do families do after games and so forth? And there was just conversation. Maybe that'd be a perfect location for a water park. But none of that has been confirmed on where a new water park would be, how big it would be. All that we know is that they wanted it. It would cost about $9 million to build it. We have another question. Let's see. Will this be on the ballot for the upcoming election? So there are a lot of questions about how does this work? When will we know what we're voting for? The Citizens Advisory Committee just had their first meeting. These are two representatives that are on the board of 16, and they were recommended by each city council member of who they would like to be on this bond advisory committee. The bond advisory committee, what they're going to do, they're going to listen to the facilitator. Remember, I told you that the city of Beaumont hired a consulting firm to facilitate all this, and they're going to go probably use that community investment plan that I've been telling you about, all this spreadsheet of stuff to explain to them everything that could possibly be on the ballot. So the whole idea about this Citizens Advisory Committee is that they're from each ward, and so these two people they've selected from each ward are supposed to have their ear to the ground and listening to the citizens in that particular ward and are supposed to bring that back to the committee meetings and decide on what they would like to see on the ballot based on what the people in the community are sharing with them, what they would like to see. So, look, find out who these people are um, on the advisory committee and send them an email. Let them know your thoughts. They're supposed to represent your interest, right? So, anyway, cut to the chase. They will make the recommendations of all the things they would like to see um, on the ballot in November if there is a bond election. They'll make recommendations to City Council, and then City Council will vote on those recommendations on what goes on the ballot. So they're supposed to take the recommendations from the Citizens Advisory Board, and City Council will have the ultimate say. That is why it is so important to stay active and engaged in your local government, because at the end of the day, um, if there is a bond election, you don't want to get blindsided and it's like, oh, whoa, I don't agree with this. I don't want a pickleball court. I don't want to make $19 million worth of improvements to old golf course out there. So this is the opportunity now to educate yourself and to take your concerns to the people who are representing you. Let's see, another question. The community will be given the chance to give their input at meetings, but how exactly will this input be implemented? This is the seventh accountable report that we've done. How do things get done? How do you hold your government accountable? It's by being vocal and showing up and being present. Because the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Well, there's a little bit of truth in that. My mama used to always say that. She said, I squeak all the time. She said, I just wanted a lot of attention. But no, it is true. You just have to let your voice be heard and take your concerns to those who are elected to represent you. But we're really getting a lot of questions here. Let's see. We'll keep them coming. My dad used to call me old motor mouth because I just talk too much. Uh-huh. Aaron says he wants a pickleball court. Well, Aaron, well, you find out who represents you on that Citizens Advisory Committee and you let them know exactly what you want. Um, this is there are a lot of moving parts to this. And I know that your day is busy and you got a lot going on. There's a lot of noise out there and this is election season, so there's a lot of politicking going on. But this will be an important issue to really stay on top of. Um, but let's talk about what I'm thinking about doing next week. That will be accountable number 8, and that will be you've been hearing from me a lot. You've been hearing about me crunching numbers and tracking down paper trails and stuff like that. But the next accountable for next Wednesday, it's all about you, all about the voters. And so I want to know what it means to you. Or let's see, how can I phrase this question? What are you going to do to hold elected officials accountable for your vote? That's going to be a really good one. That runs the Wednesday before Election Day, Saturday. And uh, I really wanted to hear from you. I really wanted to make this next report about the voter. And there are some really, really good statements that voters in Beaumont make about government accountability. Let's see. Do we have any more questions? No more questions at the moment. But this is the first one. This is the first, we're calling it Accountable, the After Party. And we're going to do this every Wednesday after each report at 6 o'clock. And I want to hear what you think. I want you to ask me a lot of questions. I want you to tell me what you think about government accountability. I want all the story ideas. I'm still getting people who are wondering that the first one I did was, of course, about downtown revitalization and talked a lot about the abandoned buildings in downtown Beaumont. That one got a lot of traction. Then I did a story. It's a rainy day. I'm really worried about one Beaumont resident, but I did a story with a lady who lives. Every time it rains, she cannot flush her toilets and she's getting sewage backed up in her house. So these are the story ideas that make a very big difference. It gives you an opportunity to have a voice, but it also gives you an opportunity to hold people who are in charge accountable and to keep holding them accountable even after the election to make sure that your government works for you. Let's see. Any more questions? No more questions? Well, this has been great. I'm so glad that you've joined me for our first edition of Accountability After Party. And I look forward to talking to you again next Wednesday. Let's have a spirited conversation about some of these stories because a lot of people, they have opinions and ideas, but they really are afraid to share them. Well, this will be your safe space to really talk about things that you're concerned about. You can also send all your story ideas to 6 News Accountable at sbgtv.com. So that's going to be a wrap for now. I really appreciate all of you for joining on. I'm going to continue to look for all those those story ideas, and until we meet again, be safe and hold everyone in charge accountable.